Hi everyone, and thanks for inviting me. My name is Oikarinen, and I'm going to speak about cybersecurity exercises today. I actually was in my first exercise in 2013. That was fairly new stuff to everybody. And recently I've been involved in planning exercise as well. Well, that's something I'm still learning, but I thought that I can share what I've learned so far. I even think that you might be sort of using these findings even without having your own exercise. And I'm going to shed some light on how to plan an exercise, which I, by the way, think is really, really fun. Well, in case you haven't met me ever, I'll say a few words. I'm a senior security consultant at Nixu, and I'm sort of a security generalist, which is a nice way of saying that I'm interested in far too many things about security. Well, to summarize, I help software teams to make more secure software, sometimes by threat modeling, sometimes with DevSecOps tools, or trying to help them include security work into their development process. And yeah, also cybersecurity exercises is something I do currently. I'm going to start by trying to explain that what even is a cybersecurity exercise. There are several types, and there are several ways of running an exercise. It depends really on the participants, that how technical they are, what's their role in the organization, and your goals actually for the exercise. Do you want to learn a specific process? Do you want to practice problem solving or communications? You choose. And I'll show you a few examples of exercises, which is not an exhaustive list, but something to check. So basically, there are technical exercises where you can practice in a real-like environment. There are typically defenders, the blue team, who have servers and environments to protect, analyze incident information, try to fix stuff, try to understand what's going on. And there's the attacker, the red team, who get to practice their hacking skills. And capture the flags. This can also be considered as a cybersecurity exercise. Well, you practice hacking, obviously, but you can also practice receiving vulnerability reports. How do you handle them? How do you prioritize them, check them, eventually get them fixed? And how would you report them to other parties? Then there's a more lightweight approach, which is a tabletop exercise. These are useful if you want to practice processes or decision making. And you don't need a simulated environment or anything. You basically gather a group of people together and you try to solve a problem. For example, that, okay, now we have an incident, so what should we do? Then there's something called functional exercises, which are basically in between technical exercises and tabletop exercises. You play in a certain imagined setting, and you then try to think that, okay, an incident that happened or is about to happen, that what can it do? And there are certain game events that will take the scenario forward. It could be tweets or call from a journalist, screenshots, anything basically. And the participants communicate the way they should in the exercise with each other, maintain situational awareness. They may need to communicate with outsiders outside the organization. So basically then the facilitator of the game can simulate these people. I'm going to focus today more about the functional exercises. And then if you ever haven't tried restoring a backup, well, that's something that you can actually have an exercise about. Or if you have just drafted a disaster recovery process, maybe you can have a process go through just a simple meeting that, okay, these are the steps. Does it actually make sense to do this? And of course, you can mix and match your own. Take something from functional exercises, take something from tabletop or technical. That's your call. What you want to do. And Then there are these huge exercises like Theater 20 that you might have been seeing tweets and LinkedIn messages about, arranged by, Theater was arranged by the National Emergency Supply Agency. And these have multiple organizations trying to cooperate. And these exercises can involve, for example, the police or the National Cybersecurity Center or the defense forces or food industry, finance, anything like something that is needed if things go really bad, basically. And these exercises are a whole nother story because they require loads of planning, months actually, and this is kind of really big stuff. I haven't been involved in so big exercises, but actually quite big still. In fact, my first exercise was a national cybersecurity exercise in 2013. It was a technical co-op exercise, and the purpose of it was to practice interoperability between government officials and some other stakeholders. And back then I was working at HelSec, so I was the other stakeholder, so to say, in a team that was building VPN devices and their management systems for networks and keys. And I was the test manager slash tester slash main instructor slash the person is doing mostly all the customer deployments. So yeah, naturally I ended up joining that exercise. I gotta say, we were really prepared. We were like protected to the maximum. We were defending ourselves. We were sitting there as a blue team. The outer rim was our VPN gateway, which was so hardened that we didn't talk anything out to the outside world except IPsec and IPv version 2 key exchange. So I need to say that was slightly a boring exercise for us because nothing happened. Nobody hacked us. We had done our share of fuzz testing earlier for network protocols. So yeah, I think there was some minor denial of service thingy going on. So we didn't actually learn very much from our product. But I learned one thing, and if you go too protected to an exercise, to a technical exercise, yeah, maybe it can get slightly boring even. That's because you don't get to try out what you can do. And I've had a chance to participate in 2 other these type of national exercises while I was working at the National Cybersecurity Center of Finland. Both times I was in one of the blue teams doing what NCSCFI does. So we were maintaining situational awareness, sharing that information, writing vulnerability advisories, helping to manage incidents. And all of these exercises were held in a real-like environment that has email and social media platforms, instant messaging, news, servers to defend for the blue teams, and so on. And this system is maintained by the Jyväskylä University of Applied Sciences, and these people can create load and simulate users and do lots of cool things. So that was a fun way to exercise, really. There were several blue teams and one red team to attack them all. Then there was a purple team to observe, and the white team who had planned all the game events. And when I was there, all the blue teams had Linux computers, Linux servers, and desktops. And I think the systems were actually like 2 years old. But the attackers, of course, had more recent tools, which I think was pretty unfair because it's much harder to defend an old system. And anyway, it might be something that you don't have in your own system, so you need to learn quickly that what is the environment having. And of course, the Cybersecurity Center's role was a bit different from other blue teams. I think I don't remember so many details, but anyway, I think that there were lots of efforts going on for others, but not so many for us, Maybe we had too many participants, actually, that's one option. But I think that the other teams were also so busy with trying to avoid and get hacked or fix the issues, so they didn't have time to share information to us so much. And from all of these exercises, there has been one thing that stood out that is always a bit of a problem, and that is communications. I think that if they're having these exercises still, it's still going to be one of the issues, lack of communications. And actually, in the more recent exercises that I've been involved in as an observer, for example, there's always some issues with communications. Either people are not giving enough information, or they are not sharing stuff because they don't think that it would be useful for other people, or they are not giving regular updates, or recipient is not understanding what others are saying. Either it's too techy or it's too strategic. You really need to think about that. Who wants to know what, and what is the audience, and what is their level of understanding things. So what is it with communications? I mean, surely it isn't lack of tools. We have Teams and Discord and Mattermost and WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram and telephone and Yammer and yeah, so many tools. Maybe it's the problem of selecting which tools to use, actually. But hey, guess what? I'm pretty sure that each of your company or organization has a communications person, like communications manager, for instance. You can ask them that what kind of communications they think you should have. Lately, I've been involved in planning functional exercises, and I gotta say, this is so fun. So let's take a look at what it's actually like to plan an exercise and what you need to do. And first of all, you wanna think that what do you want to practice? So basically, if shit hits the fan, whose fan is it going to hit? Which organization or business unit or team do you want to target that would be in the center of things? Do you want to have a security incident or a privacy incident, or maybe both? Okay, what kind of systems do you think that would be useful to have a target? That where does the incident occur? Maybe ransomware hits one of your web servers or financial systems, something that's critical for you. And what do you want to learn actually from this exercise? Do you want to check that your sort of instructions for managing an incident are okay, like learning a process better? You want to teach those people somehow? Do you want to learn communications or management of incidents? It's good to think about these things. Of course, you can combine several goals, but then you need to involve more people. You need to plan more, and it might be a bit difficult to handle at first, especially if this is going to be your first exercise. And then there's the thing that you want to plan a scenario that what kind of incident it would be, and what would happen, and in which order, and how do you get the information about the incident. So how to make it real-like. We want to have it sort of real-like that, and it's going to seem that it would make sense to exercise these things that could actually happen to you. So we want to think about the purpose of the system. What does it do? Who uses it? And when? What kind of data does it have? Are there any critical times or months of the year when it would be crucial if it went down or wasn't usable? For financial systems, maybe the turn of the month, end of the year when you need to do invoicing. Sometimes there are other like business critical seasons. And then, of course, the architecture of the system and the technologies used. I like to, if it's online, the system is online and accessible, I use buildwith.com to check what it's roughly made of. Of course, if you can get a hold of architecture diagrams or other documentation, that will help you. Recent attacks about the system, vulnerability and exploit databases, all that. And then you will discover of the world that you have been spending like several hours Googling about Magento attacks and how to actually exploit like for some certain system, or how to introduce Linux malware, what are the attack vectors, and like getting these nitty-gritty details, which I think is fun, but then again, it might not be the most sort of efficient way of planning stuff. Now to think of it, it's like hacking on paper. You plan that how would you attack a system. But there's a caveat here. I mean, we want to plan the scenario detail enough so it will be plausible, and some nitpickers wouldn't be complaining that this wouldn't happen in real life. They might actually get stuck on the technical details. And that's something we want. But on the other hand, really, some of the exercise participants may not, not actually understand all the technical fine details that you have planned. Just last week, actually, in this exercise, I was observing one of the participants asked that, okay, what is an AWS account? Which is a good question, really. I'm not sure that if the participant actually needs to understand in full what does it mean. But anyway, it might be bothering you that if the explanation is such that, okay, somebody compromised an AWS account and then did this. So what do they get out of that? The participant may be here for trying to do their part of the system or handling a specific role. They may not be understanding technical details, and they really, they're here to practice a process typically. What to do. They don't need to necessarily know everything. And it's, yeah, you need to find a balance. In a technical exercise, of course, it's more needed to know all the fun technical stuff. Then planning injections in a functional exercise is, whoa boy, that is even more fun. So basically, with injection, I mean an event or a hint that will take the game forward, take the exercise forward. This can be a screenshot. It can be a simulated email, an instant message, a ransom note on a web page, on email, website logs, social media messages, news, anything that will be relevant, and it will be some new information to the participants. So basically, as far as the gameplay goes, I reject the participants' reality and replace it with my own. Recently, for example, I've been doing fake news, fake tweets, fake Google results, fake emails. Okay, and also only for exercises though. GIMP is my friend when I'm doing these screenshots and fake news sites. This is slightly a scary thought, but I think I would be probably a really good troll in a troll factory. Well, not gonna happen, but this is fun. And that's why I put the exercise stamp in the pictures, because, well, I want all the participants to know that, okay, this didn't happen really. And I also want them, or explain to them, that they shouldn't share stuff outside the exercise, so nobody wouldn't call the CISO and, oh crap, what is happening right now? This is a cool tip that I got from my colleague Anu Laitila. This person does not exist.com. Hit refresh and you will get a new picture. This has been generated. No person actually doesn't look like this, but it looks like a real person. Although sometimes it produces slightly disturbing results, but most of them are good for, like, fake tweets, for instance. There are all sorts of fake name generators. Or you can Google baby names for different nationalities or languages, the most popular surnames list, that sort of thing. I've also spent some time on observing cybersecurity exercises, writing reports out of them. So that involves a lot of notes, lots of notes, actually, trying to understand that who is talking. And that's because sometimes I see that it's a few people who are running the show and a lot of people are quiet. Maybe they don't get a word in, or maybe they don't know what to do. And then I also try to observe that are these people following their process if they have one, if they have a business disaster recovery plan, for instance. So do they actually use it, or are they just making up things on the fly? And one thing I've noticed that for some people at least, it's very difficult to think out loud. Maybe they're sort of embarrassed or afraid that they're going to say something funny. But that's kind of sad, because I think the exercises should be a way to really practice stuff sort of in a safe way, that nothing is going to happen, nothing bad is going to happen if you make a mistake and if you do things in a wrong order, or if you forget to report to someone, or yeah, so that's the point of the exercise, that you can actually allowed to do mistakes even. Then I'm going to say a few words about what can you actually learn from a cybersecurity exercise. Well, first of all, business continuity plans or disaster recovery plans. You might know already that you don't have one. So you don't need to have an exercise to find that out. You can already think that, okay, we don't have that, let's do it. Actually, now let's all take a minute and think that, okay, does our organization or company have a business continuity plan or disaster recovery plan? Can you find them? Have you seen them? Do you think they concern the systems that you typically use or you develop, for instance? And for those who are able to answer yes, do you think they are detailed enough? I'm asking this because, well, if you're really familiar with the system, you spent years working with it, you know it all the way. So it might be sufficient to have really like quick notes that this is how you do, and you can sort of plan the recovery details on the go. But what if there's huge time pressure and people are asking you things all the time, interrupting you in all possible medias, and questions are flying? It's not that easy anymore. And also, what if somebody who just started and is now getting in the middle of an incident, they don't have the experience that you have. So it would be really helpful for them to have this detailed plan. At first you'd run this command and then you need to communicate there and then you validate this data. Also, it might be really useful to have communication in the plan, sort of that who to contact and who to ask if there's something you need to do. Event logs, that's another thing. The exercises I've seen, I've noticed that it's sort of self-evident to people who are involved in incident response or cybersecurity in general, that they know what event logs mean and what kind of logs you should have about the things you do, you decide, or who you contact. So make notes that it's somebody else can sort of trace what has happened, what has been already done, so they don't need to do duplicate stuff. And for other people, the concept of event logs might be slightly weird. What is actually needed of me, that, hey, I cannot write everything down that's happening, so they don't sort of get that it's just about their actions. And yeah, communications again. So it might be sort of lacking, or is there not enough of communications? And well, maybe you can just think that, okay, if an incident would happen, what kind of channels you would use to ask people or inform people, that sort of try to verify that is this a real thing, or is this just a minor glitch? So are you going to use instant messaging, or are you going to call somebody? Who are you going to call? What if it's in the middle of the night? Do you need to inform somebody else? Do you need to send texts or emails? And yeah, it's sort of, when it hits you, it might be really difficult to think that what do you really need to do? And then one sort of privacy observation from a recent exercise. I noticed this company has paid a lot of attention how to handle privacy incident when it comes to GDPR. So, okay, great, that's awesome. But except that there were a lot of multinational global companies. So what if the privacy incident concerns people who actually live in Australia or Asia or the Americas? So there are privacy laws there as well. So yeah, so maybe you should sort of have these considerations there as well. You cannot skip these. Okay, this is not GDPR, skip. That's not going to work. And I think that these are actually the same reasons that why you should have an exercise of your own. That do people actually know how to use the business continuity plan or the disaster recovery plan? Do people know how to react, and sort of, so it comes naturally? Well, if that awful event would happen, that there would be an incident, of course you can hope that there wouldn't be, but it could happen sometimes. So you will know what to do. And actually, if you want to know more about cybersecurity exercises, so there are a few good instructions from Traficom, National Cybersecurity Center of Finland. First of all, this catalog of scenarios. That's unfortunately only in Finnish, but maybe you can ask your friend to translate that, or I don't know, put it in Google Translate. It's all kinds of scenarios, small and big, like, okay, what if ransomware would hit us? Or, okay, somebody sent us a vulnerability report of our product. What do we do now? Okay, we have found malware in our products. What do we do now? We have this supply chain issue. Oh shit, what do we do now? So this kind of scenario. And there's this instructions for organizing cyber exercise. This one actually explains that what kind of exercise types there are and when would it be more useful to select one of these, and then some sort of organization instruction. If you now think that, hey, we should have an exercise too, well, I suggest that you start small. Technical exercises sound fun, but they require more planning. So probably maybe you can start even if it's tabletop or a functional exercise. Sort of quite simple scenarios that, okay, what if we get hit by a ransomware? What do we do? Do we need to report someone? What kind of data does it concern? How can we recover it? Do we actually have backups? Have we ever tested those backups? So how to get back to normal? Or maybe about a data breach. Okay, if some of our data leaks, we get compromised. Again, how do we discover that what are the systems that are affected? How can we get back to normal? Who do we need to report? Do we file an sort of incident to the police, or what do we actually do? When do we need to inform the data protection ombudsman? and who does it, by the way, whose responsibility it is to do all these things. What do we tell our customers? Who does the communications? It's really, I think it's useful to think this through. Or it could be just not something that you have get hacked. It could be just an outage incident. I mean, these things happen. Azure is down, something in AWS doesn't work for half a day. So what does it mean to you actually? That can you just go on normally, or do you need to take some alternative channels to use to get orders in, or does all your development stop until the outage is over? And it's good to think about these things. Start small. That's my advice. And I think that exercises are really fun. So yeah, I would like to have you all all having some sort of exercise, participating or planning. I want to thank you for listening. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Anne, for having the presentation. We have questions for you on the Discord, so just a second. Let me introduce you to the questions. We got quite a lot of questions, so if you have time after this Q&A, it would be nice if you answer some of them. I will start from the beginning, and let's see how far we can go before the time is up. So the first question is about, well, have you found a way to incorporate knitting into cyber yet?
We do have a knitting club at our company. I'm trying to figure out that what would be sort of more involved. I did. Maybe I can sort of knit some binary patterns to a scarf. I need to figure that out yet still.
All right. So which type of exercise do you think gives the most bang for the buck for an average company?
That's probably a functional exercise, because then it will be sort of an event that progresses and you get more information. That you start with a scenario that, hey, this is a normal Thursday day and everything is fine. That, oops, by the way, now we get a ransom note, and now our customers are calling from the support channels that, when are you getting this back online? So that gives you a sort of feeling of a real incident, what could happen to you, and you can think about it, but all things you can do. But still, it will take like half a day, few hours to exercise, and no much preparations needed.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have used the HackMe? Excuse me. Do you have used the HackMe card game in exercises, or have you developed other games or tools that are available for others to use?
I have tried HackMe a couple of times. That's actually a fun game about social engineering. And then for maybe, well, yeah, I guess it could be sort of an exercise as well. There are cyber bogies, Nixu cyber bogies cards that are sort of meant for threat modeling. These are sort of attack characters, people that could harm you either intentionally or unintentionally. Well, that's sort of a lightweight way of thinking, or getting into the mood of who would actually cause such an incident for us. So yeah, not directly exercises, but it's a game for cybersecurity and learning stuff.
So how long does it take to plan a good exercise for one function or one process?
It depends a lot. I think if it might get really quick, that if you sort of have ready in mind that, okay, it's this team and we want to exercise for ransomware, and then you already have sort of a good documentation and knowledge about the system, that okay, it has this type of technologies in use and these are the users. So that could be sort of quick, like even like 1 hour to sketch the scenario. Of course, for the injections, to showing those, that will take probably days of work actually to do them. And if, of course, if you're arranging a lot of exercises, you will get some templates, and then you can just like switch stuff. I haven't actually counted, but I'm thinking it's several days to get all the details right. And one thing is to think about is the amount of participants, because if there are a few participants only, you can plan that, okay, I will send this injection to Juho, and he will figure it out, and this one to Henry, and then okay, and then. But if there are loads of participants, you want to plan more injections so that everybody is busy, because that's boring, I think, to be in an exercise where you just, okay, with somebody tell me something what to do. So you want to have something for everybody to think and do.
Yeah, that's most likely true. Do companies tend to organize these events for technical personnel only, or are management and operational employees involved often as well?
Management is quite typically involved, at least partially, so they might pop in the exercise, may not be full-time. Operations definitely. I think that it might be even easier to arrange an exercise for non-technical people, because, well, but yeah, I guess they are all levels typically involved.
Where communications is key, what's the best way the person who's asking can engage with their non-technical ISO team?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So who would be the best person to communicate, or did I get it right? Can you actually repeat
So
that?
what is the best way you can engage with the non-technical ISO team?
Mm, uh, that is a good question. I would think that you would actually need to mean that what is the impact, and what is the sort of, what does it mean actually? Because if you just like blurred some tech details that are sort of really vague, they might not get the idea that what is going on, and is it really important to me. So probably trying to tell that, okay, now we cannot work, and now our customers are angry, and we are gonna get fined. I don't know if that answers to your questions, but try to sort of explain stuff maybe a bit more.
Yeah. How to convince company management that cybersecurity planning and exercises are a necessary thing?
Again, that's sort of a tough question, but yeah, well, I would take a look at the recent news. That is that something where we want to be, and also maybe take a look at other companies or organizations similar to you, that what has happened to them recently, and think about the risk that, okay, what if an incident would happen? What would it actually mean for the company business or reputation? I mean, there's some statistics about data breaches, that how they affect, for example, stock prices or business in general, or so. Okay, that's sort of, well, I wouldn't. That's sort of a bit of scaring them that, hey, you should do this before a breach happens. But I guess it's also something that you can tell outside your organization that, hey, we just had a cybersecurity exercise. We are taking this sort of very importantly, and that's a good message to all your partners and customers. But yeah, incidents happen, so it's easier to work with if you have some sort of tried it out at least once, that what are the things you need to do.
Yeah, for the people who have kids, you can use the same tricks as you do for your children, that you want to make them do something that works for the management usually as well. So It's like
Okay, so lying and and bargaining. And
yeah. Well, that wasn't officially.
I didn't say that.
Me neither. But yeah. Well, thank you very much, Anne.
Thank
We
you.
were actually down for a few minutes when we were answering the questions, but the answer should be okay in the recording, so they will be on YouTube if someone missed parts of Anne's answers. So thank you very much, Anne, for coming here today, and we will have a short break before it's Peter's turn to present. Thank you very much, Anne.
Thanks.